Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I am the Average Doomsday Prepping Dude. Today's video is the first in my CZ Tactical Sports do-it-yourself videos. We're going to be focusing on how to take your factory grips and magazine well and replace it with either a CZ Custom Magazine well or a CZ Checkmate TSO style magazine well. The process to remove the factory magazine well is the same, but to put on a CZ Custom Magazine well slightly differs from a CZ Magwell, so we'll go over both processes today. Let's look at the various Magwells that are out there before we begin. Obviously, the factory CZ Tac Sport Magwell is a plastic piece of garbage. It's actually being retained by this hole with the mainspring plug. It has a little nubby at the end of it, which sits in there and kind of retains it like that, which is why you can't just slide it off without breaking the Magwell off. The CZ Custom is actually a direct factory replacement for the stock Magwell. You can use the same size grips with them, and you will also be using the factory mainspring plug because it also uses that little nubby to kind of seat it in and keep it in place. If you end up going with the TSO/Checkmate style Magwell, you will need to get a flush mainspring plug. You can Dremel off your nubby on your factory one if you want, but I actually recommend just getting one of these. You'll see why when I'm installing the video. These things are like $5 to $10. They're not that expensive. If you decide to go with a TSO/Checkmate style Magwell, you will need to get short profile grips. The factory grips are medium profile. So the ones that I have with my CZ Custom one are also medium length G10 grips. So you'll see that, you know, they look like this, they're that length, whereas the short ones are obviously a lot smaller. And that's because the profile of these, how they sit into the slide, or it sit into the frame, this sits much higher, whereas this actually gives it more of a funnel at the bottom. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're kind of choosing which ones you want. Okay, so you will need food tools before we get started. The first is some kind of Allen key, whichever one fits your grip screws that are already on your pistol. If you have the factory grip screws or if you have aluminum grips, whatever it is, find the correct Allen head to remove those. You'll also need a 3/32 inch punch and a 1/16 inch punch, because there are two different roll pins underneath the grips that you will need to remove. I also recommend the $1 magnetic parts cup holder thing from Harbor Freight. I've shown these in prior videos. I find these very, very handy because we're going to be taking off roll pins and screws, and I don't want those to get lost. So let's get started. So before we begin, let me preface by saying, please wear safety glasses. You're working on an area that's under extreme spring tension, the mainspring housing plug. So please wear glasses, because you will be looking at it and you do have the potential to injure yourself. So I've already gone ahead and removed the screws, because I assume you all know how to do that. Put your original grips aside. So this is what your pistol will look like. There's two roll pins that you need to take out. The first one comes out very easily. You just take your 1/16 inch punch and push that through. Once that's off, you can just pull off this magazine plate thing. I don't even know what it's called. Now, once you have the pistol like this, you're going to need to push into the bottom hole here, because there's that little nubby thing I showed you on the mainspring caps. And then while that's being pushed in, you're going to need to push out this roll pin here. So to make it really easy, you just kind of push it down. It's kind of awkward on camera. I'm just going to push it against my belly button again. Just push it in. This falls out. Once this is out, you're going to need to push in again extremely hard. And then what's going to happen is the mainspring plug is going to snap forward. So that is going to look like this. Okay, once it's like that and move forward, you can then slide off your factory Magwell. Be very, very careful, because your mainspring cap plug is again, under extreme spring tension and could go flying if you're not careful, which is why you need your safety glasses. So it should look like that. Just slide this off, and now you're ready to put on your CZ Custom Magazine Well. Again, this is gonna the magazine cap plug, or the hammer cap plug, is gonna seat into this. So just reverse the process. Just slide this back on. Once it's seated all the way forward, all you gotta do is push in like that, and now this is not going to come off at all. It is engaged. So with it engaged, you're gonna have to put your roll pin at the bottom back in. I can see mine is not exactly, my plug is not exactly straight, so I'm gonna have to kind of nudge it back into place, back to where it should be. You're gonna have to eyeball this yourself. I can't really show it on camera too well. You can see it's better now. So basically, get it seated, started first, and just push it in. And then once it's pushed in, you don't need a hammer. Ooh, too far. Once it's started, you can just push it in and it will seat like so. Once you have that seated again, take your magazine plate thingy, put it into the cutout at the bottom of the frame, seat it so that the middle portion clears the two wings inside the frame here where the springs go. Make sure this is kind of centered. Once that's in, kind of eyeball this here, and it looks good. And you don't, again, need to hammer this. This should just slide in like so. Eyeball from the other side. I'm just adjusting that, and that's on there. And then I can put the grips on. As you can see, it's the same size as the factory CZ grips. These are medium length grips. So this is what this will look like once I get this on. I'm not going to do the other side to save time for the video, but this is essentially what this will look like once you have the CZ Custom Magwell on, as well as your new grips. So let's put on the CZ style TSO with the short grips on next. Okay, once again, please be wearing safety glasses as you're working on an area that's under extreme spring tension. So this process is going to be putting on the CZ brand TSO Checkmate style magazine well and replacing the plug with a flat mainspring plug. So previously I showed you how to take everything else off. Your pistol should be in this configuration with the mainspring housing plug facing forward and being captured at the bottom of the frame. So to do this safely, just point the frame down and just push forward that way. That will release the lock that's actually, the mainspring plug is kind of sitting like this, so it's getting caught between the little nubby and the edge of this inside the bottom of the pistol. So once you do that, you can just put this aside. I'm going to take my flat mainspring cap and I'm going to just put it in there like so. Make sure that you can see the cutout for the roll pin. I'm going to put it against a hard surface. My mat is not hard enough, so you're not going to be able to really see it, but I'm just going to press down into it and then push the roll pin in. You will not need to hammer it in. So do it like so. Once you have this in, you can repeat the process from before and put in your, whatever this thing is called, back in. And that looks like this for the second time. Just kind of line that up. Put this in. Take your smaller punch and kind of line it. Put your pin back in. Should just slide in like so. And let's see how it looks. Okay, so that's in. So once you have it like so, you can take your magwell, and your magwell will just slide on. The reason why I actually recommend buying the flush mainspring plug versus drummeling off the end of this is you can actually see there's a little wear on my mainspring plug. That actually, when I push it forward, is what kind of keeps it tensioned. You can actually see it like that. Kind of keeps it tensioned. So if your Allen screw here, even if you Loctite it and it gets loose, it does have some tensioning to keep it on the frame without coming off inadvertently. So let's put my cool Cobra grips back on. And you can see what this looks like completed with the TSO style Magwell. So this is what both tack sports look like, fully configured. The Cobra Commander Blaster uses the factory or the CZ brand Magwell, whereas the other one that I have has a CZ Custom Magwell. You can see that the CZ Custom Magwell is a little bit larger and longer, making it kind of easier to get your magazines in when you're not looking. I do personally like the way the TSO Magwell looks on my Cobra Commander Blaster better. But I will say that the CZ Custom Magwell, with its retention system using the factory mainspring plug and the pin to retain it, does actually keep this a little bit more secure. I have had times where I've been shooting, you know, mid-match or whatever, or at the range, and the Allen screw has come undone. The Magwell hasn't come off because of the tension of the mainspring plug, but the fact that the spring does get loose, or the screw does get loose if you don't Loctite it, can be a little problematic. So I do think that, you know, the CZ Custom did something right with that. Both are fine options, but again, it's just whatever you want to do. So just make sure that you order the right size grips. The CZ Custom requires the medium length grips, and the TSO style requires the short length grips. So there'll be more CZ tack sport do-it-yourself videos coming in the future. So please like and subscribe, and thanks a lot for stopping by.